Good evening and welcome to Artist Talk on Art on Monday, December 2nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. I'm Doug Shear, ATOA President. Tonight we're featuring Maria Paz as moderator of a small panel comparing contemporary art in China with that of America. Our Zoom is copyrighted by Artist Talk on Art and all rights are reserved. After tonight's recording, the panel will be posted to ATOA's YouTube channel. We suggest you hold your comments or questions until close to the end of the panel. Next week's panel on Monday, December 9th, features documentary producers Stephen Blauweis and Karen Berlowitz and includes clips from 10 of their artist-focused documentary productions. Tonight's moderator, Maria Paz Contreras-Bozetta, also known as Paz, is a Chilean-born, New York-based artist renowned for her vibrant abstract paintings and symbolic representations that promote global unity and harmony. Inspired by ancient wisdom and Eastern-Western philosophies, Paz's work transcends cultural boundaries, fostering balance and reflection through art and symbolism. She studied at the Art Students League of New York with Knox Martin, and her work has been exhibited globally in New York, Mexico, and China, particularly at the Today Art Museum in Beijing. She has completed 2 artist residencies in China, the Swatch Art Peace Hotel Residency in Shanghai in 2014, and the Hangzhou Hotels Residency in 2018. Her work is deeply influenced by Chinese culture, incorporating symbols that blend Eastern and Western traditions. Currently, Paz serves as programming director of Artist Talk on Art. She recently released a documentary on the life and legacy of the late centenarian artist Knox Martin called Knox Martin, Radical Perception. And now, Paz.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be here tonight with a topic that I'm very familiar and I really enjoy. And thanks so much, Francisco and you, for being here. I don't see that I'm seeing you.
You don't see me? Is that okay?
Yeah, now I can see you. Yeah, perfect. So I will start with a little reflection, and then I will introduce you so you can start talking about your own artwork. So today I have the pleasure of moderating a panel discussion with 2 exceptional artists, Yu Zhang and Francisco Hauss. Yu Zhang was born in China and Francisco Hauss was born in Mexico. Our conversation will focus on the intersection of art in China and America, exploring how these 2 cultures have influenced each other over the last years. My own experience with Chinese culture began in 2013 when I traveled to Shanghai for an exhibition at Cervantes Institute, where I met first Francisco. The show was Latin American Contemporary Art. And this experience profoundly impacted my artistic focus, immersing me in a symbolism language, where I started deeply to work since then with China in 2013, 2014, and 2018 and 15. So I am very impressed how one of the most important cultures in the world that has influenced all our civilization is China. And I never really imagined that how could it be until I went there. And yeah, so before I give you the words, I will read a little introduction that Francisco Hauss wrote for one of the shows that I had when I came back at the Welancora Gallery on 2016 that was called We, the Communion, and was like about how these both cultures interact. So Francisco, by that time, wrote as a statement, and he said, "The sudden and massive flow cultural codes and artistic expressions from the West into China has rapidly tainted the appearance of the superficial layers that dress the city with advertisements, the people with fashionable outfits, and the magazine with aspirational lifestyles. The original ideologies and meanings that underlie the objects are modified as new codes slowly permeate the culture and are reinterpreted with a different cultural context. The same occurs when cultural information travels from east to west. It is this exchange that sheds light on the constant and chaotic redefinition of contemporary reality." So that was like the statement that Francisco wrote, and now I will introduce you both so we can start. But that will be kind of like the atmosphere of this panel, like the West and the East. Well, first, Francisco Hauss is a Mexican artist who addresses the processes of communication, structural development, and behavior within nature. He earns inspiration through nature contemplation, indigenous mysticism, dynamic systems, thinkings, and biosemiotics. Hauss' works range from sculptures and installations to drawings and performances. His work has been shown internationally. Born in Mexico City, Hauss spent 11 years in China, where he developed his career before returning to Mexico City in 2024 as his primary base while maintaining a secondary presence in Shanghai. Yu Shang was born in Beijing, China. She graduated from Beijing Science Technology College with a degree in art design in 1994. She continued her study at the Central Academy of Fine Art for another 2 years to refine her master's program training in oil painting. When she began her MFA studies at the City College of New York in 2007, her paintings maturated, and she established a unique style that challenged the notions of ideal beauty and self-identity. Yu has had numerous solo group shows in the United States, Japan, and China. Yanshu currently resides and works in New York. So thank you so much, and Francisco.
Hello, Paz.
Hello.
Thanks for the
Hello,
introduction.
everyone.
So, Francisco, could you tell us about your work, your experience in China?
Yeah, well, I appreciate a lot your invitation, Paz, and the fact that Doug is here, the founder of Artist Talks on Art. And should I start sharing my file?
Yeah,
All right.
you can start with your experience and your artwork. Yeah.
Okay. Then let me share a video first while I'm talking. I can show you this. This video, can you hear me well?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This video was taken when I was working in a coffee shop, as usually I work. Back then, I was preparing an exhibition for the Cervantes. One of my last exhibitions were also in the place that we met. And
Shanghai.
in Shanghai, in the Cervantes Cultural Center. And I saw these birds coming to eat a strawberry cake. And I took the video, and it was part of the installation that I used that day. So let me introduce first what I do as an artist. I'm very interested on natural behavior, on how nature behaves when they are like individual animals or when they are like groups of animals, like creating emergent collective behavior as well. So when I was back there in the coffee shop and I saw this, it was like a revelation moment on how these birds learn about human behavior and costumes, and how a restaurant can represent for them a source of food. It was fantastic to see to see that, and that was one of my last one of the first videos that I did that I wanted to share with you. Now I'm sharing with you the PDF, right? Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll take you through my work, and then of course then we will touch the different points of how the intersections of art in the West or in China. My work, it's about natural development, for instance, structural development, just as it happens in this piece. I used to work a lot with resins and acrylic, creating these structures that depicts a world of interactions, maybe within a living being. And also, this is one of my most recent pieces, in which I blend the idea of structural development as it happens in these very symmetric structural shapes that comes from an experimentation with chemical elements. I don't use a brush or a computer to make them. And I'm very interested in my work to depict like the idea of dynamic flows within the atmosphere, and how these dynamic structures and dynamic scenarios sets the possibility for life to develop. So I'm also very interested, for instance, in a cloud. How does a cloud can represent the dynamism of water and how it travels across the atmosphere? And well, this is also one of the materials I use. The material I use are chemical elements that I mix with pigments, and these shapes emerge from it. This is also some other works that I did in 2010 and 2023, which shows as well abstract representations of the correlations within a living system in the left side. I'm very interested on how structures emerged and develop. So it's like a zoom in of the possibilities, the structural possibilities of nature. And these works were done long time ago, while these ones are the ones that are more recent and starts to involve cultural assets as well. These specific works, regardless that we will be talking about China most of the time, in this case, they were created in art residency in Portugal, and also taps on the idea of animal behavior, of this moment of how meaning emerge and intention can be read in animals' postures, or how we interpret animals as well, how we interpret nature. So, or how we time it, how we assign meaning to it. Let me scroll down a little bit and show you a work that I made in China that depicts how nature and culture overlaps. This was also an amazing residency called Pan Shanghai, and this is all of the artists. and they organized this art residency very near in a rice farm, within the rice farm. It was a very special place, very full of energy of any kind. There was a cemetery around, and there were many abandoned houses. It was a very cool experience, and also being immersed in such a significant element as is rice in China inspired me to create a work that is associated with Chinese culture. It is a video piece. And in this video piece, I show how those animals correlate with rice. Of course, many people could believe that rice itself is a living being. It decodes reality and lives its own life, but it's also associated with how those animals relate to it, or how those cultural assets transforms the idea of rice into something different. For instance, rice as a symbol of urban development and allowing human settlement to grow and create nation identity through rice, or how finally rice become also rice paper, and how this biomatter, which before was a living being itself, becomes a cultural assets, a rice paper made for art. And this is a poem that my friend Viga helped make, and it says "Da mi," which means rice, and it's a very famous poem about rice and how it's cultivated and how people lives. The relation of people and this element. Also, a lot of my pieces are installations. This is an installation that blends plants with a structure that looks like an altar. And this was made also in the Swatch residency that Paz also did many years ago. I did it also 4 years ago. So it brings a little bit of spirituality to the idea of nature that is my subject of study, and creates a place for interaction, for people to gather together and have joyful moments. This is the theme of the Swatch residency. These are the artists, and this is the Bond. This is an amazing place where this art residency is, and a very famous spot in Shanghai. Behind us, there's a river, and this river separates Puxi and Pudong. And Puxi is the place where Hauss represents a little bit, I say, the past. It has a lot of also colonial buildings with Chinese flags, of course. And in the other side is the future. The other side is full of brilliant futuristic buildings. This is how it is living there, all amazing cultural exchange to have the opportunity to make a residency with people across all China and France and Canada back then. And this is a snapshot of me working in the studio back there in Shanghai. This is another installation that is also evoking the idea of a vertical garden and has a light design on it in order to evoke spirituality and blending mystical beliefs with a feeling of a ritualistic feeling. This was an exhibition also that was full of events with music and conferences. And here the musician that is playing is a musician from Xinjiang called Anka, also a great DJ, with also Valentina Mango on the right, is an organizer, a cultural organizer of events and so on. This is how it feels to be having an exhibition in Shanghai. Also, a invited musician born from Qinghai, was playing amazing guttural, almost Mongolian singing style music, which really permeates into the air and the energy of local feeling. We created a bit of ceremonials and just socializing moments. And well, regardless that, again, the talk is mostly about China, as we will be doing later. I will be also introducing this work, for instance, that was made in the Anga residency in Lisbon very recently. I keep exploring nature. What are the intersections of nature and culture? How do we understand nature? How do we assign meaning to it? And in this case, I was taking a texture from the monuments with certain meaning of nature. In this case, is a decolonialist artwork in which I take the texture of a monument that taps into colonialism and nature as a as a medium to control. And I erase the silhouettes of nature. So I try to not erase history, but maybe take a step back and for the opportunity to us to reevaluate it. How do we understand it, and how do we create historical continuity of meaning and how it can be reinterpreted? This is another work that I recently did associated with that. And because I'm probably running out of time, I'm gonna rush a little bit and introduce some of the artworks I made there in Shanghai. Well, this is a sculpture. Back then, I was blending also like some ceramics, Chinese ceramics, and making an intervention with resins and other materials that could feel and suggest Mexicanness. So it's a blend indeed of Chinese and Mexican aesthetics that kept happening very naturally across my career development in China. This garden is a garden in Hangzhou. In Hangzhou, there's an Academy of Arts where I was studying for a little while, and they have this Emperor's Garden very near. It's an amazing place, with a lot of tradition of art, and with the most reputed art school. And well, this work is about how do we accommodate nature? How do we fit nature to our aesthetic benchmarks of what is beautiful or not? So this is a, let's say, human-made garden. There's a lot of human intervention to see like to be like so beautifully made and layered up, and the curves are perfect and so on. So it represents that how we associate nature with beauty, or why not the wildness? Why not wild nature could be beautiful? These are some others of my work. Some of them are sculptures made out of resins that represents possibilities of evolutionary development and how they just fit perfectly together with a flower. I believe that the aesthetics, how we understand, how do we interpret aesthetics and how do we feel them, come from nature. How the natural expressions of weather, of rain, of sunsets, and the shapes of flowers, the colors of corals, or the behavior of birds singing really build up our understanding, our connection with what is beautiful, what it makes us feel in certain ways. And across my work, I'm also very interested again on structural development, and this is a very, very cool like chain that talks about how this is how matters distribute in my paintings. It happens in a natural way, so it maps. It's a dynamic map, a map of intensities, of tensions, of gravities, and of these intensities that sometimes happens in painting but it also happens in nature. They replicate. For instance, this red of pentagons that has the turtle or the fractal-like development that is not only in nature, in the DNA, like let's say in the structural development of nature, but also in the behavior of nature. So how those bees or spiders use geometry and structures to, well, to establish a mathematic relation with their life, right? And at some point, I had a chance to collaborate with this geologist, Simon Hall, and we made a collaboration. He studied, well, he's a professor in the Tongji University, and he's a geologist that studied the first rock in the planet, the stromalotite, and if I'm not wrong. So at this point, we made a collaboration in which he was showing through a microscope the structural features of these rocks, while I was just live drawing some water-like structures or a piece related with water structure. This happened in Tongji University in Shanghai, invited by the amazing Francesca, which is a professor also there of the Department of Science and Development. So it's very nice how in China these intersections can happen very easily, how art can relate in many ways with many other domains. And it was something I enjoyed a lot. My presentation, I don't want to overrun, but I guess I'm still good on time. This also happened. This is a collaboration I did with performances with this amazing Olga Merekina, which is her. This is a fantastic dancer that had a dance company, and I was lucky enough to get invited to the Hauss Art Museum in China to make a performance with the Sorayama exhibition. This is the work of Sorayama, and this is the work that we were doing. All the original idea comes from Merekina, and we were working on different parts. This was a very interesting performance because I couldn't see. We had like this. This is a cell phone. It's a cell phone with our eyes. So our eyes are moving like without control, or very strangely, in a body that moves like not according to the eyes. So we couldn't see anything, and it was a performance that was repeating one and over again. I repeated like 12 times. So everything was memorized.
Great. Amazing.
Amazing, right? And then the fact that it's also with the Sorayama works,
Right.
which are fantastic, and the whole idea, the original idea that Olga had was great. This is me acting. There were 3 performances happening simultaneously. So look at the eyes, how weird they look. And it was the idea of uncanny valley, of how the relation of humanity and machines, how machines represent humans until the point that we cannot distinguish anymore, and it became just scary and spooky.
Wonderful.
So it was a very demanding because it was like 1.5 hours, like repeating the same performance, like keeping the mind fresh, not to make something wrong. And everything was happening also with a poem that a friend of us, Horacio, wrote. I will don't stop a lot so I can finish.
Okay.
I'm towards the end already.
Yeah, I
This is
think that
yeah.
this because then
I should hurry up. This is also a great group of performances I work with. It's called Levels with Jared Mim and Wenting Sun. We
mhm.
made performances in the Rockbond Art Museum, and some friends. Hello, China. This is the curator of a gallery, and another curator that works in Fotografiska, a new open Shanghai museum. And this is some poetry nights. This is also how art happened, like behind the scenario. A little dog, the poet that wrote the poems for the performance, and here Tsetong on the left, which is now works in the UCCA museum and was working with the Rockbond Art Museum. Song, an editor of an art magazine. And finally, I wanted to finish with this slide where Paz is present. This was my first exhibition in Shanghai. Here's Paz with the Chilean ambassador, the cultural representative of the cultural center, which is IMA. And here I am, like many
Oh,
years ago, Paz. This is
wow.
history, yeah?
It's
And well,
sister.
this is the end of the presentation. This is how exhibitions finish in Shanghai after an exhibition in China. You go to these amazing restaurants where you have a round table. Everyone shares the food and the beer, and you just cheer for the pleasure. This is
Wow, amazing, Francisco.
my great pleasure to share this. I'm missing that kind of food, huh? Lovely. I will stop sharing.
Oh, that gave us all the energy of China, and your work fascinating.
That's beautiful. Beautiful word, Francisca.
Thanks a lot.
Yes. Very impressed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It has been a very intense career over there, and like the inspiration that it gives to be different, living in a completely different cultural context. It's great. It helps you switch. It helps you understand that, well, I personally believe that we and nature are very similar. I see an animal with two eyes, a nose, that is also a mammal that runs and plays. And I feel so identified that also when I go across countries and across cultures, I cannot but realize how equal and how similar we are, and how humanity should stay together as one. Because before nations, we are humans, and before humans, we are living beings. And I believe that nature can help establish a common relationship among all of us that can be global.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Francisco. You?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. It's
So
really nice. Okay.
can you tell us like about like your work and show some images and your experience in China and now in New York? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to start with my experience as an artist in Asian and in New York. Later I wanna share my works later. That time when I was in China, Chinese contemporary art was emerged on the international art world for the first time, and many avant-garde artists appear in the big galleries and the museums in American and Europe, and it was a really a remarkable moment in Chinese art history. And there was a lot of energies and new ideas and a desire to break through, and I was surrounded with like-minded painters, writers, and musicians, and I was completely immersed in this atmosphere. So come to New York, it's like for me, it's like you threw yourself in this big spending pot. You just keep spending, this wonderful energy. And I saw so many type of art from all over the world and the places, and I learned many contemporary artists' name. And this generation of artists that emerged in the 90s really changed my perception of traditional figurative painting. The artists like John Curran, Matthew Barney, and some women painters like Elizabeth Payton and Lisa Yuskavich. And they're the wonderful artists. I was really that time. I really want to, study some study some paintings from those, this really turned this figurative painting, to another direction. And since that time, is everyone saying the painting is dead, and those people really find their way to bring the painting alive. That's my experience in both places. And now you want me share share the works?
Yes, sure. We love to
Okay.
see you.
Okay, how can I do this? Oh, here. Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay, this Chinese people, Chinese art and is reflect in the calligraphy. So it seems it runs in the blood of every Chinese people. So I think all your painting, the how I paint is a lot of I use a lot of the brush strokes and try to construct the forms. I use where I learned this calligraphy. So I had this fantasy about this Chinese calligraphy. So so I paint these paintings, and I wanted to memorize this tradition and remind me to do more practice on calligraphy. And you can see this letter under this brush is my name. So it's like a signature for this work. So I wrote in Chinese as my name.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And the other one, this is a really recent painting I did this year. So and how I do paint this eyeball is I think it's like you're looking yourself. Sometimes I feel it's really hard to find yourself, but maybe at some point it hates you, and all you have to do is just put your hand down, and it's right under your feet. That's how I feel. I know there's some moment it's really light you up. Oh, you are here. You are what you are. That's how I feel from this painting. This one,
Okay.
this the soul of the food is a hidden place, and it's really personal. It's for people, it's really hard to see. You don't see you bottom of your foot. So I put the drawing on the soles. It's kind of some painful experience, but at the same time is beautiful, and is also like a armor, as a protection. Is I like to play this contradiction, like a soft and a hard in the same time in one word. And this bone and I bought this bone in Chinatown. So I started painting by sketching and then I took a photo. I finished up with the photograph because there was a summer. The weather is really hot, so I couldn't keep this bone on the table. So I have to take a photograph to finish it. Um, um, I like the structure of the bone. You know, I try to study the structures and anatomy for the animal and the human. That I think is a great exercise. So I put this it's kind of it's a everyday food, and but at the same time it's a beautiful and when you see it and individually. Okay. This one. This is a really an image I took from internet, and the story is bizarre. I still don't know it true and how true is this story. This escape convict, so who spent years cutting a hole in the wall and only to discover the other side of the wall there was another room in the present. So it kind of like a joke. What attracted me this image is it was this inner strength. It break through all the obstacles and to gain this power. And I also put this behave that represent the life is born from there. Also the cactus, this oval shape, it's represent a life, and the permanent life was born from there too. And
Wow.
and this is this is a snapshot from a video and installation artist, Swiss artist called Pipi Loti. And that's the show I saw. She was showing in Chelsea galleries. Also, I took a snapshot. And so I like I'm not interested in debug the particular individual, but I like to find the common sense in this painting or in the figure. So I put this figure in the light and the shadow. So the face it's a kind of a blur in the shadow. So I want to blur this boundary, this from the light and shadow, and play this with the projection on their body, the lights, then also the and this is saying it's really like a illusion. It feel like it's real, but at the same time it's like a fantasy world. And this
Wow.
I did when I was in Art Students League. And this model, this is one person. So we the model have to switch the outfit every 20 minutes. So when you paint this one person and the other person is absent, So you have to. It's really a challenge to how to balance this picture while the model is not there. Also, this outfit, one is Asian style, another is this Western look. I think this is really suits me well. One's Western, one's Asian. So it's just like my situation. I'm in both places. It's an identity.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And this I did during the COVID, and the people start wearing the gloves, and is everything feel like plastic, and this posture is like giving posture stretch out, and at the same time it's like a protection. So it also this contradiction I like to play in each of my paintings. This is a quick sketch. I did a whole series of this 1.5 hour sketch at school. So since you only have a limit time, so you have to build the structure and decide the tone of the color very quickly. So it's a really high intense workout, but very satisfying afterwards. And it's really train my hand to be to make a decision really quick, fast. This one I like the still life, the light and the transparency of this glass. They produce an illusion. I think every painting is a new challenge. I like it's just like the society we live in. Sometimes bright and delicate, and other time fragile and flickering. That's what I want convey and do this painting. Okay. That's my end of picture. And you have any questions for me about my painting or work or whatever experience?
Thank you so much. Amazing. I really love your work and your deepness. You're very deep, and how you describe the process with your work. I would like to know more. Could you tell us about your different art shows in China and Japan, right, and New York, and how were like those experiences? Did you notice what kind of difference you notice between sharing there and here?
Yeah. In general, I think what is different between contemporary Asian art and Western contemporary art in terms of expression is very different. I think Westerners have a diffuse mindset, spreading outward from one point, a kind of outward release and expression, and using their work to influence others. And well, the most Asians have the inward-looking mode. It's like a self reflection, and all this wisdom that come from inward and inward. So a lot of time, I think painting or doing art for me is like meditate. um, and although this living in this an image flooded society and the digital age had shortened this distance, but this essential different differences have never changed, I think. My experience, my time in China, where I really think helped me lay this important foundation for my artistic career. And later, my life experience in New York really shaped my perspective. And with this open attitude, it enabled me to step out my own self and see the world from a local level to a micro perspective. And I think in my work, I still have this Chinese realism style. And as a female artist, I was born to be a fantasist, I think. I think these 2 points are inherent in my work still. So I feel like the deeper I dove into the Western tradition, the closer I get to my mother tongue. Yeah, that's how I feel. And both in experience in China and in American in New York.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And
yeah, have any more question for me?
I would like to ask you, now you are still beside, I mean, you are here in New York, but you are still like related with the Chinese art in New York, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us like a little bit of your experience that, or how does it work, like to be experiencing like the, how do you say, like the Chinese art, but now here in New York?
I think New York is a really unique existence. New York can, accommodate all the foreign cultures, but it can also disintegrate them. Yes. In this, digital age, I think the nature of the image is uprooted and interchangeable. I think the influence for me is in two ways. In this, so it's I think in New York, it really helped me grow to have a really open and attitude, and I see so many artists and art style, and it really shaped my perspective. Yeah, I couldn't think, if I live in other places, how my artwork are gonna be, and how this experience, and both in China and in here, to reflect in my work. So even have so many years living in New York, I still think I still carry my root as a Chinese, and I think the more the further I go, the closer, I feel I'm still, having this Chinese character in my work.
Beautiful. I feel like, well, related with your experience, Francisco, and yours experience, and also, well, my also experience that I went there, and I would say like the most interesting experience in my part was also when you expose yourself to a total different environment.
Mm.
Well, first, nobody knows you or few people, and you have to kind of really have more freedom to search what is your real voice,
Right.
and which is challenging, but in painting it's great because it's like a visual language, so you reconnect more with that sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always great to arrive to a place where you carry always your cultural assets with you and your history with you. So how do you allow yourselves to be flexible, and how do you choose certain paths that will be following
Yeah.
a huge process all the time? Like which interactions do you do? Which gallery do you exhibit with? Or what kind of groups of art groups are you associating with? And in Shanghai, at some point, there was a big bloom of small of communities of artists, and you could like interact with different spheres, social spheres of art, like all of them with certain kind of identity. And jumping from one to another one also allows you to feed from different social circles, right? Which are
Yes.
like, and something interesting in China is also that you can access to sometimes, if you can access to a very high level fine art museum with a top curator, and you can from one moment to another you can like exhibit in a very underground like subcultural niche, and it's always positive. It always fits in a positive way to be active in different layers of art, while in other places sometimes they don't mix as much. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to have a different multicultural influence.
Right. Yeah, I think it's quite I think painting, especially figurative painting, it just carries so much weight. Like um, 1,000 years history about, and even the China, traditional art had so much impact on me, and of course, and um, in the beginning in New York, it's really like finding your path. You have to learn so many things. Simply, I don't know how to behave. I have to, find a way to make a art, to continue to do art. And at the same time, you have to make a living here. And a really a tough journey. And for the figurative painters, and think even challenging. Then people doing some craft, or some other like a media, multimedia. I think nothing is easy, but I think especially the figurative painting is a kind of it's not a it's like the 90s is like it's dead. They everyone saying the time is over. Um, so so for in New York, I start going and group with some this artist who's doing the same thing. So that's the same, so the support, what I have here. we sometimes, gathering together, talk about the art life, helping each other. And also some of the artist studio is like, that's your group, that's your people. They work together, they share, the works, and something, going to see the gallery shows and talk about, the futures, how, the past, how do you, continue your career, how can you, break through the obstacles. Yeah. I think, and also I've considered as Asian and a woman, and that's I don't want to categorize myself, since everyone see, oh, you're the, from China, and then you are the women, so they automatically put me in some group, which I feel in here in New York, I wanted to be, to be, stand still with my own beliefs, and I don't want to be in to be to belong to any other group. I simply I do my own things, but of course I have so many artist friends. We always, talking. That's just really my precious moment to always talking about arts with those people.
Wonderful. Yes.
Can
Thank
I ask
you.
I have
Can I
a
ask a question?
comment and sort of a question attached to it. Artist Talk on Art around 1990, 1991, we had a panel on South African art, and it consisted of two Black South Africans and two white South Africans. And the thing that sticks in my mind that was unique about it, and maybe a metaphor for tonight, is that the Black South Africans, the native, well, they were all born in South Africa, but the Black South Africans were doing international, very Europeanized abstraction and so forth. They were doing very westernized art. And the two white South Africans were doing what we would call nativist or very, indigenous kind of art. And it was such an interesting night because of that. And it makes me think for Yu Zhang, the experience of either looking to the West and then ultimately coming to the West, how that influenced your art and how you decided perhaps to work in a more international style and a less traditional Chinese style. And then correspondingly for Francisco being of a westernized, a Western, primarily Western trained, Western oriented sensibility, what it was like for him to then find himself in China over a long period of time. And, so conversely, how that would have affected his art. You both talked about that to some degree already, but I thought that was interesting to see a Chinese artist, contemporary artist, doing somewhat westernized or very westernized art, and an artist from the Americas doing a very Asian influenced art. There's the crux of the question.
Right.
Yeah, it's like alchemy.
What?
It's kind of alchemy that you've.
Yeah. It's sometimes like coming and going is like an opportunity to see things a little bit from the outside, right? Also, For instance, thinking about what has been coming back, and after living in a Asian environment for so long, then when you come back, you can realize many things as well of how is the art system working, or the even cultural assets are like transiting in different cultural sectors. So I think it's a great advantage to be immersed in a different culture where you can like open yourself and absorb everything.
Mm-hmm.
And allow yourself to create like sometimes hybrid art, like each work is an opportunity to reinterpret your own work, no? For instance, here the ones that some of these pieces that are made out with fabrics. And here in Mexico, they asked me like, why are you using fabrics? But in the temples of Asia, it's very common to see fabric hanging from the temples.
Right.
So I think like if there's an amount of hazard, like I mean, an amount of not planned influence that just permeates into you, and somehow also you balance what you want to approach and to adopt.
So in both of your cases, though, is there ever a feeling that you're dealing with, to some degree, cultural appropriation?
I wouldn't go that far because I don't use imagery of China. Like I wouldn't use dragons. Well, I have a work with dragons, but I don't really like use like Chinese iconography of it. Sometimes I make quotations, like for instance in the rice paper calligraphy that a friend of mine did herself. I didn't did the calligraphy. So at some point I will be quoting just softly, but not as strong as for anyone to recognize that, for instance, is influence mostly of Asia and Japan and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have
I mean, I'm not demeaning, don't get me wrong, I'm not demeaning
Yeah.
appropriation. After all, Picasso was looking at Africa, wasn't he? In so many of the things he did.
Yeah.
You know, and that was very powerful appropriation. Go ahead. Go ahead, you.
Yes. Yeah, I think for me, I'm I want to explore everything. Since I think New York have these opportunities, um, for for artists to to see everything and try everything. It's really a good energy here, and I don't want to limit myself and in some particular style. Even though people see my work like a lot, just like another Western, and especially as and now I paint some Western face, some of the African American features. Um, I I don't want to lead into either ways. I'm why Chinese painting the Western. I just my the thoughts. It just came out naturally, and what the image attract me. I just want to put on my to be my create my own image out of the pictures I saw.
Can I ask a question that is related? It might be related in some way. By the way, thank you both. Look, great work from both of you, and thank you for the presentation. But you were talking about an inward approach and an outward approach. Can you expand more on what you mean by an inward approach, an outward approach, and the inward approach being Asian and the outward approach being Western? Did I hear that correctly? Did I understand that correctly?
Right.
And can you describe what you mean by inward? Does it have anything to do with the unconscious, the conscious? Where is that coming from?
I think that it's all difference about the approach. What I said, the Westerners is the thinking is more like scattered. It's from one point and spread out. And Asians are totally upset. It's from out and go inside. That's the big difference. What I feel. I'm not sure this is right, but from what I see, all this Western artists, how the way they work and how the Chinese thinking. I think that's just the main difference. Then when they in terms of painting, figurative painting, and the Westerners like to blow up the image. They'll make a bigger or go deeper from a one point. And the Chinese or Asian artists more is a reflection from inside.
It's interesting. Did you arrive in New York in the 90s? Did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly the time I arrived, and I was a figurative artist, and I completely changed. New York did that to me.
Yeah, sometimes I feel I'm really stubborn. Why I'm still doing this?
Yeah, but that's an interesting answer, because I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking that you were approaching it differently about what inward meant, as contemplative and meditative. That's why it's just an interesting concept of taking all in and bringing in.
I'd be badly quoting Will Barnett, the centenarian artist, late centenarian artist. At an ATOA panel, he said, talking about the history of contemporary art in America, that up until World War II, most artists were outer directed. That is, they were looking at the world and painting what they saw. And after World War II, they became very inner directed. So they were painting what they felt or what they meditated about or what they experienced in music or other things. But it was very much internal. And that's what produced abstraction. Well, but that's what produced abstract expressionism to a great degree. Nothing is more associated with American art than abstract expressionism, except maybe pop. But that was an interesting and dramatic change caused by World War II.
Yeah, the time periods. Well, in the 90s was this massive explosion. I arrived at the beginning of 1991, and it was this massive explosion of particularly women artists doing these big installations. Everybody's doing it's like it was all about sculpture and installations and transforming space. And I was just seeing that the very exciting work was that. But then as you mentioned, alongside were these artists that were stubbornly continuing with their painting, just like Yuck Savage and Curran, and they stayed with it. So it was a very interesting time in the 90s in New York to arrive then.
Right.
Also, I think regarding abstract expressionism, I have been thinking since it happened primarily here in New York. New York was is one of the most multicultural cities in the world, and probably abstract is also the most neutral way of expression, meaning that you don't have to tell any kind of narrative. So it becomes much more, I would say, easy as a language. I don't know if
it's more introspective. It's all about introspection.
Yeah.
So.
but wonderful. And
I have
do
one
you
more
think?
question. Can I
Yeah,
ask one
sure.
question of Francisco? I was sort of curious when you were talking about the paints that you were using in the beginning. Are those dyes? Are you working with subliminal dyes type of thing to create that kind of watercolor? What is your paint that you're using?
Well, at some point I was going to like a store where they sell everything, and I will buy a little bit of everything. So then I would combine like pigments. I had a lot of different formats of pigments, like powder or ink based with alcohol or water based.
That's what I was
Then I
talking,
would,
the alcohol-based inks. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it is alcohol based. So both the alcohol based pigment goes into a kind of a solvent
Yeah,
or
yeah,
a medium that helps them like make an amazing reaction. It's like looking at the clouds or when you put milk into the
yeah.
coffee and finally it dries and I take picture of it.
I have a friend who's gotten involved in that, and it's just fascinating to see what what it does. It's a very different way of working with color, and so I was an oil painter, and that it's just interesting to see these different methods. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. I think like in this era of uh, artificial intelligence generated images, like tapping into something that comes from nature, is very interesting. Like for instance, there's so-called eco poetry, and then like some artists are like creating like representing poetic moments. So for instance, how does an insect leaves a trace and so on, or the rain or chemical reactions. So it
You're
feels
talking
like
eco art.
something.
Eco artists are doing this. This is a form of eco art.
Yeah, I have some friends that are poets, and they will take, yeah, I'm doing eco poetry, and I will go, what is eco poetry? And they will tell me this kind of stories, and they will present their own works.
Ah,
Yeah,
interesting. Hmm. There's an eco artist group that I have belonged to for a while. Eco Art Space, headed up by Patricia Watts, and she's been running this for a long time. There's all kinds of different approaches to eco-friendly art that she has artists. It might be something that you could be interested in.
I would definitely love. Maybe Paz can put us in contact later.
What are you on Instagram? Can I look you up there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just my name straight
Okay.
as it is. It has a down
Okay.
dash, how you say, like a dash,
Yeah.
but down.
All right. I'll contact you and give you the info if you're interested.
Yeah, I would love. I think ecology
Mm.
might be a new emergent ideology that can bring people together. So I
Yeah.
appreciate this kind of
Yeah.
art movement. Yeah.
Someone else wants to comment? Any questions?
Let me use this moment, I guess, to thank both Yu Zhang, Paz, and Francisco Hauss for presenting tonight, being with us. Very interesting, something new to consider. And thank you very much, and thank you everybody who attended tonight. If you have anyone that you think would like to see this, keep in mind that in a few days it will be posted to the Artist Talk on Art YouTube channel, where there are many other recordings as well, over 100. And thank you all for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Francisco. Thank you,
Thank
Sue.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone
you
for
for having
coming
me.
and for
Thank you.
Yeah,
dedication.
great presentation. Thank you, guys.
Yes, great. Thanks. Have a good
Thanks.
night.
Thanks.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Night.
Cheers.